of the country of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So it will be another special edition that we're doing over here. We already did various videos on Yeshiva in Bosnia, the rabbinical seminary over there. So I thought we will say maybe a few words with regards to the history of the synagogue. Now, first of all, the various different synagogues there has been in Bosnia and Herzegovina, especially. I think there's Ari Livn Jewish Cultural Center, which is also called the Ilona Weiss Synagogue. It's located in Banja Luka. I think it was built quite recently in the year 2014. That's the first one over here. Okay, yeah, so we're exploring a bit of the history with regards to the Bosnian, various Bosnian synagogues that has been here on this special edition today. And so this is the first one. It was built in the year 2014. This was the Ari Livna Jewish Cultural Center, which I think is synagogue. Then the Bihak Synagogue, obviously in the area of Bihak, built in 1906. Now, I think it was put in ruins in 1950. Then the Bijilina Synagogue was in the year 1901, and actually in 1901, and actually in that specific place. The Rabinta Synagogue was built in 1911. Once again, I think 1950. It stopped standing. Then the Doboj Synagogue, which was, I think, consecrated in the year 1922. The first Sephardic synagogue in Banja Luka apparently was in 1870. The Garkanika Synagogue was in the year 1890. The Kald di la Bilava Synagogue in Sarajevo was in the year 1900. The number 2 Cal Grand Synagogue, I think in Sarajevo, was in the year 1930. The Cal Nuevo in Sarajevo in the year 1870. The Mostar Synagogue was the next one in the year 1904. There was a new temple in the year 1937 in Banja Luka. There was an old Doboj Synagogue in the year 1874. The old Mostar Synagogue in the year 1889. Reported the old synagogue Kal Vijezu in Sarajevo all the way back to the year 1580. The Rogatica Synagogue in the year 1928, I think it's still standing now. The Sarajevo Synagogue in the year 1902. The second Sephardic Synagogue in Banja Luka in the year 1880. The Stolac Synagogue in Stolac in the year 1832. Then the third Sephardic Synagogue, I'm not sure the exact date that was formed. Then there was a Travnik Synagogue in the year 1863. The Tuzla Synagogue was in the year 1936. The Visegrad Synagogue was in the year 1904. The Visoko Synagogue was in the year 1886. The Zenica Synagogue was in the year 1903. The Zipk Synagogue was in the year 1903. And the Zvornik Synagogue was in the year 1902. We're going to explore a bit with regards to a few of the synagogues at the moment over here in this special edition over here. It's just going to be a short break at the moment. Okay, so we just explored some of the list of the synagogues over here. Now we're going to explore about a few of the famous synagogues which we just described, and we haven't got enough data. I personally haven't got with regards to all different places, but it's a special edition over here, and let's explore, friends, over here. The first synagogue we're going to concentrate on is, the first thing we're going to concentrate on is the Jewish community of Doboj. It's an organization, I think, representing the Jewish community in the city of Doboj, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Now, the Jewish community was founded all the way back in the 1871, and I think in modern day it's still running. I think in the 1940s there were 24 Jewish communities in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sarajevo, Tuzla, and Banja Luka all had both Sephardic and Ashkenazic Jewish communities, while others had one joint community. Now, in addition, nowadays, to the community in Doboj, there are 5 remaining communities: Sarajevo, Banja Luka, Zenica, Tuzla, and Mostar. So I think the Jewish community over there numbers 1,100 people. Synagogues exist in various different places, like Sarajevo, Banja Luka, Zenica, Tuzla, in all these different places, while construction of a synagogue in Mostar, I think, was suspended recently because of legal battles over ownership. Now, the relationship with the local community, I think under Mordechai Atias, the community's president at the time, let's just say, was progressing. Many members of the community live in Doboj or in surrounding areas, including Teslik, Sanak, and I think a place called Derbenta. Now, this organization we'll talk about, it's not necessarily per se a synagogue over there. I think in 1997, the Jewish population in Doboj was not only 19 individuals, and in 2005 it rose to 40. Now, the synagogue in Doboj, let's explore that. The first synagogue in Doboj was built in the year 1874, but was destroyed in 1942 at the time of the Second World War. Only the entrance door survived the destruction. Today, that door stands in the courtyard of the new synagogue as a symbol of remembrance. The current synagogue was consecrated in 2003, with the community using, reconstructed family home from 1922 that originally belonged to someone named Alexandra Brodsky or Otto Kalama. Now, the community named the new synagogue the Bet Shalom Synagogue. The site also includes modern-day Jewish cultural center and the headquarters of the Jewish community of Doboj. I think that was actually inaugurated in the year 2004. Now, the Il Cal Gran Synagogue. Now, this, I think, Judeo-Spanish name, or in English it's known as Great Synagogue. It's a former Orthodox Jewish congregation and synagogue located in Sarajevo, in Bosnia. It's a Sephardi synagogue over there. The building has been used as a cultural center since 1993, 32 years ago. I think, that's very interesting enough. I think it was actually designated on November the 10th, 2003. It's a large synagogue. It was constructed by the Moorish Revival style in 1930 by design of the architect Rudolf Lubinsky. It was the largest and most ornate synagogue in the Balkans. It included large, ornately decorated prayer hall, a smaller, prayer hall for use during the week, a geniza, a room for the rabbi, and various other utilities, since the building was meant to serve not only as a synagogue, but also as a community center. The building was consecrated in 1930. I think it was actually attended by the chief rabbi at the time, Dr. Isaac Alkali, and the chief Sephardi rabbi of Sarajevo, Rabbi Dr. Moritz Levy, and the chief Ashkenazi rabbi of Sarajevo, Dr. Hinko Urbach, among others. Now, the building was heavily damaged by the Nazis in 1941 during the Second World War, and the majority of the Jewish community, unfortunately, was murdered in the Holocaust, that period of time. So that was very, very sad, and we have to point out that also. So that's an interesting fact about there. And let's explore within regards to the Mostar Synagogue. It is in a significant location in Bosnia and Herzegovina Jewish history. It served as a local Jewish community house of, prayer for several decades before becoming a cultural center, which it still functions to this day. Now, I think the first mention of the Jewish population in Mostar dates all the way back to 1570, when Sephardic Jews took refuge there due to the Alhambra decree. In the 19th century, a number of Ashkenazi Jews moved there, while Mostar was a part of Austria-Hungary, bringing with them, I think, Yiddish language and various other cultures. It was first recognized, as a mixed Sephardi and Ashkenazi community in Europe. It was the first one, I believe. And the first synagogue in Mostar was established in 1889 in Mukika. It was a street, was repurposed hay storage building. It was also the first synagogue of Herzegovina. Due to population growth and insufficient size of the former synagogue, a committee for the building a new one was established. Its members were David Kohn, David Frommer, L. Rosenfeld. The cost of the project at that time was 17,500 KR. And obviously that was a huge amount of money, and a lot was saying. The current building, I think, was built in 1904 with being roughly 20 by 11 meters in size, with 70 centimeter thick walls. It sustained heavily damage in the Second World War, and Jewish community of Mostar was not able to pay for its renovation. So it was decided to give it to the city, which decided to turn it into a puppet theatre, which received numerous awards during existence. It was also heavily damaged during the Bosnian War, first when the nearby church, I think, was demolished, and later on by the shelling, which caused the entire roof to catch fire and collapse. It was subsequently rebuilt, declared a national monument of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Even the Jewish community in Mostar is not very large nowadays. There's talks, I think, of a new synagogue being built since the late 1990s, and the community hasn't had one since 1952. Now, the Jewish Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina was, I think, once a synagogue of, it's located in Sarajevo, and it's dedicated to preserving the showcase of the history and culture of heritage of the Jewish community in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is housed in the oldest synagogue in the country, built in 1581. Very interesting. The museums, there's a permanent exhibition, chronicles over 400 years of Jewish life, manuscripts, religious objects, photographs, traditional clothing. I think the collection features items from the Ottoman period through Austrian Hungarian era, Second World War, and the museum houses a collection of Ladino and other Jewish books, some printed 200 to 300 years ago. Then the Zenica Synagogue was an Orthodox congregation and a synagogue that existed in the town of Zenica. This was in Bosnia between the years 1903 to 1941. Since 1968, the building once again has been used as a Jewish history museum and is listed as a national monument in 2013. And the history, let's just say, of the Jews of Bosnia and Herzegovina dates back to the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492. While Jews did not settle, let's just say, in Zenica until 1750, most of these early settlers were Sephardic Jews who were joined in 1878 by Ashkenazi Jews from Austria-Hungary. By 1885, the community had built a synagogue next to the local bazaar and Jewish cemetery outside the city. The current synagogue building was built in 1904 and 1907. In 1910, the Jewish community in Zenica was 297, and with about 200 living in the city on the eve of the invasion of Yugoslavia. I think 185 members of the Zenica Jewish community were killed, sadly, in the Holocaust, and those who returned to their homes after the war were unable to rebuild the demolished synagogue building themselves. So the building took on other roles. Zenica Ironworks used the building to house their printing house. And I think in the 1960s, the building housed further, let's just say, importances at that stage in time. I think it was a furniture store, if I'm not mistaken. In 1968, the Jewish community of Yugoslavia reached an agreement with the city to turn the building into a local museum. Now, the Sarajevo Synagogue, obviously Orthodox congregation, located in the south bank of the river, the Miljacka, in Sarajevo, in Bosnia. The synagogue was constructed in 1902 and is the only functioning synagogue in Sarajevo today. It's actually an Ashkenazic synagogue they pray at currently, I believe, which is very interesting. It's also a historic monument, I believe. Now, the history of the Jews of Sarajevo dates back to 400 years, all the way back to 1541, when the first Jewish settlers arrived via Salonika in Greece. These early settlers were primarily artisans, merchants, pharmacists, and doctors. Come on, 1577, with the permission from Pasha Siyavush, they established their own court hotel known as El Kortijo. In 1580, the community, with the assistance of a Turkish benefactor, built a synagogue in El Kortijo within the building called the Velika Avlija. And by the end of the 16th century, the structure, let's say, housing the Velika Avlija became known as an old Jewish, let's say, place over there, Sarajevo's first synagogue. The building burned down, I think, in 1679 and 1778, and was rebuilt each time. It served as a museum, but has since been reconstructed for services. Next door is a new synagogue, Novei Ham, serving as an art gallery, owned by the Jewish community of Sarajevo. The Sephardic community constructed their own Il Kalgran synagogue of 1932, acknowledged as the largest and most ornate synagogue in the Balkans. It was devastated by Nazis in 1941 during the Second World War, but Ashkenazi synagogue was able to the Ashkenazi synagogue was able to escape the, let's say, total destruction. The Germans used the synagogue as a stable. The Torah Ark and decoration in the lower part of the synagogue was destroyed. The Holocaust in the 1940s and Civil War during the 1990s left fewer than 5,700 Jews in former Yugoslavia. The Jewish community, like the entire country, was once defined by its unique combination of Eastern and Western traditions. Populations of Sephardic Ashkenazi Jews, they would peacefully mainly coexist with Christian and Muslims in Sarajevo and elsewhere in Bosnia. It was. And I think 1964, there was a celebration of the 400th year anniversary of the arrival of Jews in Bosnia. The main prayer room was moved to the upper gallery, previously the women's galleries, which was Ezrat Nashim. A floor was installed to cover the surface of the room, and the ground floor is now used for celebratory social events, bar mitzvahs, and so on and so forth. It's interesting, the synagogue was designed in Moorish revival style. The synagogue had enormous arches with richly, let's say, painted decorations. A high ornate ceiling was highlighted by a 10-pointed star at the entrance of, let's just say, a stone menorah which commemorates the 400-year anniversary of the Jews in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The building was actually renovated recently in the 2000s. So I thought it would be interesting to talk a bit about the synagogues of Bosnia. We've already spoken about maybe a good 50 rabbis that were from the Yugoslavia countries in this series. If you look at the playlist, you'll see all the various different videos of rabbis we've done. We started speaking about great Jewish personalities also. So on that note, I'll request of all of you to subscribe to the channel, join the community, and we're growing. I'm wishing you well and blessings here from Israel. Subscribe now. Take care and have a great day, everyone. Thanks everyone for watching and be well. Thank you.